Patch 11.2 Ghosts of Koresh drops on August 5th, with Season 3 starting on August 12th. New raid, new dungeons, new PvP rewards, and yep, a fresh PvP ladder. Guardian Druid itself is looking extra thick this season with flag carrying changes, which means Blizzard is acknowledging an issue, solid set bonuses, and a real role to play in both Blitz and rated battlegrounds. If you're looking to maul your enemies, protect the flag, or just outlive everything on the map, this guide will get you up to speed fast. So jumping right into it, we're first going to look at the overall Druid changes going into this patch. First off, we're going to have Lycara's Meditation, which is now being reworked as Lycara's Inspiration. So you'll see that the buffs are going to be changing depending on the form. For Bear in particular, though, we are receiving a 5% movement speed increase, which I'm not going to complain about, but overall I don't think it's going to be anything to write home for. We're also going to see now that Maim now has a 30-second cooldown, was 20 seconds, and the Bear form threat generation for the other specs have been reduced. As of Guardian specific buffs, we're going to see Druid of the Claw, we have Empowered Shapeshifting, now giving us 6% damage reduction for magic taken. And for General Guardian, we have Dreadful Wound. Enemies deal 15% less damage to us, up from 10. And then Strike for the Heart, which Mangle now heals us for 5% of our max HP, up from 1%. And then, of course, my personal favorite, especially when you are considering the Blitz build, all damage abilities have been increased by another 12%, which is huge. Turning the page now to the specific PvP changes, we see that Blizzard is acknowledging a problem, especially when it comes to tanks and PvP, and that is just how quickly they're able to fall over. At face value, I don't think these changes are going to be big, but I think it does highlight the fact that Blizzard is actually looking at it and trying to figure out what might be a good middle ground to fix the problem at hand. So with this current change to Focused Assault as well as Brutal Assault, the damage taken per stack was 10%, but now it's going to be 8. And then to offset that, the healing reduction per stack has been increased to 8% from 5. Now, more importantly though, what I like to see here is the movement speed penalty is now 30% lighter. I feel like that is definitely going to open up a lot more things, especially for different tanks. Albeit, it's not a lot, it is a step in a positive direction to try and see where Blizzard thinks that balance is going to be, which is going to be anything better than what it currently is. For rated solo shuffle, you will see that there will be no more repeating players 3 times in a row, and Protection Paladins now choose a tank. Furthermore, quality of life here, typical Katmu, floating text will appear above the player to signify when they're generating points on their team. Also with the new PvP season, we have new PvP rewards, so this is going to include titles, mounts, the weapon illusions, as well as in a war mode, outdoor PvP zone, Vanquisher's Wake, which will certainly be a cluster, so make sure to grab a Thunder Buddy to avoid being straight overrun by the masses. And of course, we have the new modified Glad mount, which after some community involvement does look a bit better, and then you will see the return of the vicious PvP mounts, with this season being the Void Creepers. Turning to the Guardian Druid PvP stat priority, we're going to have Versatility still being our #1 go-to for the overall reduction in damage received, as well as the increase to damage done, followed by Mastery to increase our survivability, Haste, which will then even out and Hasten, our GCD, and of course Crit, which is our lowest priority. Just remember now, as we are late into the X-Pack, to keep an eye for the diminishing stat returns when you hit 31% verse. You'll generally be safe between 31 and 39%, as you aren't losing too much, but you have more to gain putting those points into Mastery and, depending on your stat weight, even Haste, especially if there ends up being a 4 season to where that stat creep really does get out of control. Speaking of stats, we're also going to look at the tier sets here. So Blizzard has once again done a unique approach to the tier sets, so we're going to break it down between the Druid of the Claw as well as the Elune Chosen. But just remember, as normal for the tier sets in PvP, this season they are going to be reduced by 60%. But it's still going to make the 4-piece worth it. Just remember not to take the pants, as it has the lowest stat priority for us in comparison to the other pieces. As of the 2 set for Druid of the Claw, we have Ravage boosts Haste and Crit by 10% and Bleeds by 30%, with our 4 set making Ravage have a 40% chance to proc a second time within 4 seconds at 60% power. Now, Lune's Chosen, Thrash has 20% increased damage, as well as a 40% chance to cast Star Surge, whereas the 4 set, Star Surge hits 3 targets and boosts Lunar Beam damage. On to gears and enchants. Similar to last season, we are expecting the socket gems to remain the same, the return of the 1600 mastery achievement for a catalyst charge, and new honor gear that will scale higher than the last season's conquest. So be sure to upgrade as soon as possible. Once the season starts, we will have the return of the bloody token gear, which will be stronger than the honor, and of course conquest and crafted gear that can be made with the heraldry, sitting at what I believe will be item level 723, but don't quote me on that. This also highlights the new cloak, the item the Rishi Wraps, which includes a damage shield for tanks and can be upgraded to item level 730, making it BIS. It should also be socketed with crafted thread of mastery or even versatility, since the tier set is a little bit light on versatility this season. Speaking of this item though, you do have to initially get it once via doing PvE content. However, once you've already gotten it, you can also skip it for your alts, but more importantly, get the upgrade item via winning PvP matches. Gems and embellishments will remain the same for the previous season, and I'll put those up on the screen now for a refresher. The one caveat being, though, I would say that if you're looking at primarily doing rated battlegrounds, I would go with Captured Starlight. Or conversely for Blitz, I would use Focusing Lens. Moving on to the talent builds, since the tier sets remain largely passive in how they affect our gameplay, the playstyle is going to remain the same as it has been in the previous 2 seasons, which means the builds really haven't changed, and you will find the import strings in the description below. Although I will still suggest that you import from the description, as I have made some minor tweaks. In that description, the standard flag carrying build, as well as a base sitting build, and the quite fun Blitz DPS build. Well, there you have it, a short and sweet, to the point guide, with Guardian Druid being better than ever, with buff sustained, better PvP scaling, and passive tier set power that makes a great time to main bear. And of course, we know how Blizzard likes to change things up on the fly, so if anything else pops up after this video comes out, I'll be sure to make changes so you can be up to date. As always, it has been a pleasure, and if you have enjoyed this guide, go ahead and comment your favorite builds, and of course, like and subscribe. And I'll see you in Vanquisher's Wake. You bring the Void Creeper, I'll bring the bear.